Welcome to Raising Awe Seekers, how the science of wonder can help our kids thrive. I'm your host, Deborah Farmer Chris. My kids have an ongoing debate about when seasons begin. My daughter subscribes to meteorological seasons, June 1st, September 1st, December 1st. My son is a stickler for astronomical calendaring. The seasons begin on the two solstices and the two equinoxes. I have staked my claim to the official start of spring, and they know it. Spring arrives when Peeper frogs start singing. We have wetlands behind our New England home. When we moved here from Texas, it was summer, long after the frogs had stopped their spring song. The kids spent the summer catching and releasing the little frogs that leapt through the yard at dusk, but the creatures were utterly silent. So I didn't know what I was hearing when March 2018 rolled around. One night it was silent except for the occasional barred owl. The next night I heard chirping and surround sound. That's the Peepers, a neighbor told me. When you hear their song, you know spring is finally here. In 2020, the Peeper frogs woke up on March 13th. How do I know? The kids' school had closed down that day just for a week. We went out to a local diner, our last time eating out at a restaurant for 2 years. Over burgers and milkshakes, we told our kindergartner and third grader that we wouldn't be flying to Disney World that weekend after all, a trip they had been looking forward to for months. It was dark when we got home with our tearful children. When we stepped out of the car, I heard it. A chorus of frogs waking up to spring, unaware of the calamities taking place in the human world. The rest of my family went inside. I stood in the yard and wept in worry and wonder. Over the next several weeks, the frogs sang and the migrating birds returned. At the time, I was teaching high school. My husband was a middle school administrator, and my kids were in different elementary schools. So our house was filled with the sounds of 4 different online schools, and the inside of my head was exploding with anxiety. And the neighborhood was erupting with birdsong. It was in those weeks that I discovered Merlin, a free app from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Merlin listens to birds and identifies them for you. The app appealed to my 6-year-old's insatiable interest in animal facts. Many mornings he took an iPad into the backyard, pressed a button, and walked around listening to birds. He watched in delight as the screen filled with the names and images of birds who, like him, got up with the sun. He hunted in the branches for the bird that matched the call. Zoom kindergarten was a mess, but these moments were rich with awe. His wonder got me hooked on bird listening, too. Over time, I began to notice patterns. The birds who stay all year, those who return in the summer, and those travelers who pass through on their migration routes. For most of my life, birdsong was nothing more than white noise. But now I could be brought to tears by the call of a song sparrow or a lark. When my brain gets noisy and distracted, tuning into the sounds of nature calm it down faster than meditation. And last night, I heard them, one day earlier than 5 years ago. I raced up to my 13-year-old's room and threw open a window. I didn't need to say a word. She knew what she was hearing, and she smiled. And this morning, March 13th, the night after the Peepers woke up, I was delighted to hear finches overtaking the Carolina wren as the loudest voice in the neighborhood. The human world is still full of calamities, and the birds and the frogs still sing. To mark today, which is an anniversary of sorts for all of us, I return to this passage in Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass. She writes about a pond behind her house and the animals that live there. She writes about mothering children and mothering the world that they will live in. She writes, "So does my grandchildren who will swim in this pond, and others whom the years will bring. The circle of care grows larger, and caregiving for my little pond spills over into caregiving for other waters. The outlet from my pond runs downhill to my good neighbor's pond. What I do here matters. Everybody lives downstream. My pond drains into the brook, to the creek, to a lake. The water net connects us all. I have shed tears into that flow when I thought that motherhood would end. But the pond has shown me that being a good mother doesn't end with creating a home where just my children can flourish. A good mother grows into a richly eutrophic old woman, knowing that her work doesn't end until she creates a home where all of life's beings can flourish. There are grandchildren to nurture, and frog children, nestlings, goslings, seedlings, and spores, and I still want to be a good mother. Me too. Happy spring, friends. Wait, before I go, perhaps you haven't heard peeper frogs. This is what they sound like. Here's one frog, and here is the chorus. I'm Deborah Farmer Chris, and this is Raising Awe Seekers.